Hi everyone, it's Rax. After the Wolcen patch, a lot of the top builds have been nerfed, including the Bleeding Edge guide that I had previously for Wolcen. I tried everything. I tried Havoc Orb, I tried the Winter Spell, I tried Mages, I tried Gunslinger, I tried a bow build, and out of all of them, by far the strongest one is the one I'm presenting to you today. Once again, Bleeding Edge, but built a little bit differently. I am able to farm 187s easily. The boss takes a little bit of time, but everything else is fine, and I am practically immortal with this build. This build is good for any level. It's good if you're low level. It's good if you're just getting started in your expeditions, and obviously can farm the highest content. Let me take you through the items, the whole passive tree, the attributes, and I know much more about this game now than the first time I made the video, so I'll be able to explain it a lot better. And then at the end, I'll take you into a 187 Untainted clear that we did, where I crit for 383 million in a single hit. Let's get started. First, let's talk about the gear. So, you can use any one-hander or a gun, anything that's held in one hand. I'm using the gun because it's the highest total damage weapon that I have, and honestly, it's not too good. It's possible to find one in the 600 ranges, and I've heard it's even possible to get one up in the 700s. The main thing I'm looking for is the total damage. I'm socketing with offensive 1, and I usually socket with something in material, so either physical, rend, or toxic damage, and the stats below it don't matter too much. I'm just looking for the highest damage possible. For the shield, and I would strongly recommend using a shield, you just want all the text at the top to be blue. The resistances, the block chance, the block efficiency, all of that is very important. I would say the most important one is block efficiency. So your block chance is exactly that, your chance to block, and your block efficiency is how much of an attack you will actually block. So you'll see that in our itemization and in our passive tree, we're going to do everything that we possibly can to block everything and block as much of it as possible. So just get a shield with very, very good stats. And when you're socketing here, defense 1 and 2 are block chance and block efficiency. In general, block efficiency is better. Block efficiency has a cap of 75, so keep that in mind. And then support 3 is very good for transfer time decrease between willpower and rage, because we're going to build our character to be able to spam our skills so our rage never goes down, and the support 3 transfer time is very important for making that happen. And now for the armor pieces. In general, we want life and all resist. That's going to keep us alive. And I look for rage and willpower cost decrease. Shoulders, 38% rage decrease. Gloves, 32% rage decrease. 38% rage decrease. 39% rage decrease. My bleeding edges cost nothing. They cost 81 rage, so I can spam them all the time. So another thing that's very good to get if you can find it is what we just talked about in the support 3 gems, the transfer time decrease between willpower and rage. So if you can pick that up, that's very good. Toughness is very good, and once again, we're going to socket with block efficiency and block chance. It's going to be very important for staying alive, and it's very important for the particular way that we're going to build our character to have a very high all resist score and a heavy chest piece, or a heavy piece for both the chest and the helmet. So you'll see in the passive tree, the fact that I have 939 all resist as a heavy piece for the chest and 622 as a heavy piece for the helmet is going to make a big difference. Another thing that's very good to get, if you can pick it up, is 32% cooldown wherever you can get it. That's going to let you spam your abilities. And on the boots, also try to get movement speed. Now for the jewelry, we want flat damage to attacks, and if we can get it, the plus ailment stacks. That's really what I'm looking for. Anything else is good to get. If you can get material ailment chance or health or material damage, all of that stuff is good to get. But I want flat damage to attacks and ailment stacks over anything else, because that's going to ramp up our ailment damage for bleeding edge. So you'll see fire damage to attacks, and 2 ailments. Frost damage to attacks, lightning damage to attacks, 2 ailments. I only have one roll, 2 attacks, unfortunately, on my amulet with 2 ailments with the 33% material damage. And once again, we're socketing support 3 for the transfer time so we can keep spamming our bleeding edge. And finally, for the belt, if you can get it, the trial is the best belt in the game, bar none. It has a 100% chance to inflict Mark of Impurity to an enemy when they are hit. This is absolutely incredible. Now, if we go down to Mark of Impurity, I have it almost level 90. You don't even have to have it on your bars. You don't even have to put it here. And it will apply the runes that you use for the skill. So this belt is absolutely bonkers. The vendor can sell it in her 3rd tab. So whenever you see the vendor, check the 3rd tab and see if it's there. And one final note that I want to mention, people in my stream are asking me all day, Rax, does your build work without the trial? Absolutely. I did a full clear. I took the trial off. It works just fine. It's a little bit slower, but another option that you have is to put Mark of Impurity on your bars and just manually apply it. So all the trial does is applies it for you automatically. It's a huge quality of life increase, but you could just put it on your bars just as easily. Now let's look at our stats. I put everything into toughness. It's as simple as that. I haven't put 1 point into anything else. Any other stat points that I have are from talents or just randomly on gear. I just want to be immortal because the build does enough damage to everything except the boss, but I haven't found any skill that just murders a boss in this game currently, so the boss is going to take some time. That's just something we have to live with, so we might as well just survive. Now, if you look at my statistics, the thing that I'd want you to pay attention to is look at my block chance, 99%. I block everything, which is amazing. And my block efficiency is 69%, and perfect block efficiency would be 75, so I'm getting close. So that you're going to see in the video is just going to make me immortal. We actually, in the video, I'll show you a cool 3-player clear that we did, and I kind of lead the charge, and I just let everything hit me, and you'll notice I take no damage at all. And look at my resistances, 12,000, 11.5, and 14,000. It reduces my damage by 81%, and we're blocking 69% of the damage. It doesn't matter that my health has been cut down all the way to 73k. Pay attention in the footage. I take no damage. It's very comfy. You're practically immortal. Now let's go over the skills. Bleeding Edge has been nerfed into the ground in many different ways. One of the main ways is the rune that let the axe keep spinning now has an 8-second cooldown. So we're not going to take it anymore. So the most logical question is, Rax, if we stack cooldown everywhere and in the passive tree, does this skill still work? I tried it. It wasn't perfect, but it just didn't work. Can you use duplicate skills and make it work? No, I tried it. A lot of people in my chat said they tried it. It wasn't working. Maybe there's a way and maybe somebody can figure it out, but in general, we just have to say goodbye to this rune, kind of like the heart of the ocean over the Titanic, and just say goodbye to it. It's okay. We'll make it work a different way. We'll take the speed, the rage cost reduction, the increased damage, the fact that it will follow you, and we must have the increased damage per ailment stack. The most common question that I've gotten in the last couple of weeks on my stream is, how do you apply the ailment stacks? With a passive point that we're going to take, a skill is going to apply ailments either based on the runes that you take, or it's going to apply ailments based on what are your top 2 damages for that skill. So Bleeding Edge does rend damage, and we also have some poison damage on here and some fire damage, and this comes from damage that may be on your jewelry. So because rend and poison are the highest, it applies poison and bleed stacks. That's where the ailments come from. And an ailment comes from the trial belt that we just went over because it applies Mark for Death, which applies Curse. All of the other spells are just to buff Bleeding Edge or to apply ailments. That's what we're going to do all the time. So Sovereign Shout is going to give us a weakness stack. It's going to give us a stun chance. It's going to increase the duration of the buffs. We're going to take the crit chance buff, and we're going to take the movement speed buff. And over here you can see it's going to give us rage. It's going to give us crit, movement, spell casting, and attack speed. Warpath, this is going to let us fly around the map, as you're going to see me do. It's a very good mobility skill, and it's going to apply the burn stack for us. So we'll take increased speed, we'll increase damage based on block chance, It will charge the skill for longer, will grant a buff to all resistances for allies, will grant rage when hitting enemies, and will increase the block chance. Wings of Ishmir is a jump. It's going to let us move around to where we want. It's also going to gather all the enemies for us, and it's going to give us another chance to apply burn and poison. We'll increase the flight speed, increase the rage generation, grant a buff for every enemy hit on landing, have an increased chance to inflict ailments, increase the damage dealt by ourselves and allies in an area of effect when we land, and have the vortex that's going to bring everything together for us to let our trial belt blow everything up. Tracker's Reach is amazing for two reasons. It will apply stasis for us, which is going to give us a gigantic damage increase from one of the passive nodes that we're going to have, so it's very good for bosses. And it's going to allow us to group everything together to blow everything up with the belt. We'll increase the range, we'll inflict stasis, increase the range, pull enemies from all directions, increase the range, and reduce the cooldown. And finally, this skill may not be used. You may want to take blood for blood because you may find you're immortal and you want to live a little bit dangerously, but I'm still going with Juggernaut. It gives us a gigantic shield and it does some damage. I just never want to die. I want to be very comfy when I play. It's going to grant rage when we receive damage. It's going to inflict a portion of our weapon damage on enemies attacking us. It's going to increase the absorption. It's going to reduce the damage received from projectiles, reduce the rage cost, reduce the cooldown, increase the maximum absorption, and increase the shield absorption. Alright, let's go through the nodes together, and this is the order that I would take them in if I was leveling up a brand new character, and it does work at any level. You can use this while you're along your Wolcen journey. So, rage cost decrease, rage cost decrease. Then we'll go down to the left side and we're going to pick up the 60 critical hit chance. We're going to go down to the left and pick up the 5 maximum ailment stacks times 2. We're not going to take this one because remember, we're going to inflict ailment stacks based on all of our jewelry. And I don't want to deal with the 30% decrease to damage, so I do not bother taking that node. We're going to go over here on Immortal Offering. When we kill an enemy, we're going to get 5% damage for the corresponding damage types. You're going to see we're going to have a lot of stacks of Immortal Offering that's going to give us a big damage increase. We're going to go over here and take 50% chance to multiply the number of ailment stacks inflicted by 2, but then we're going to pick up these two nodes to make it 100%. Down over here to the left, we can apply an additional ailment. This is a super strong node. Then I come down here and I pick up Child of the Fury, so we regenerate rage instead of willpower. And this node is incredible. If we use skills above 750 rage, it doubles the cost of skills in order to deal more damage. So we're always going to cast Bleeding Edge if we can over 750 rage. Come over here and pick up 4% damage for every enemy within 4 meters. Pick up the Life Leech. Come down here and pick up Dire Juncture, which is going to help us stay alive. We need the maximum ailment stacks, both of them. And then come over here. I thought this node wasn't picked. It needs to be picked. This is incredible. When we hit enemies with stasis, they take 100% of the damage after a 1.5 second delay. So we pull them in with our little hook, we apply stasis, we hit, and then it's going to hit them again for 100% of the damage. Maybe one day as I approach 90, maybe I would pick this node to increase it by another 20%. But I'm only going to show this at level 83 because 83 is super hard level to reach, and people were raging last time that I made a tree all the way for level 90, so I'll show you what to do up to 83. Up here, 2 damage per 100 unconsumed rage points. We have a ton of rage, so this is going to help us a lot. And 35 rage generation on kill. We'll take the 25% damage to enemies with impaired movement, and then we'll pick up block efficiency, block efficiency. Please fall in love with block efficiency. It is so strong for trying to survive against the damage that the monsters deal. Then we're going to go all the way up here and pick up the max willpower. But really, we're going for the max rage, max rage, max rage. Come back to the beginning, go over here. We're going to go down here and pick up the 60 critical hit damage for the minus 30% damage. And we're going to want to walk over here and pick up the 60% ailment chance score. And then, okay, let me think here. So probably, what should I do next? Yeah, I would probably come up here and take the 25% all resistance after you block a hit, and there's some nice nodes here, 5 block chance and 20% block efficiency. I'd come pick this up, come down here and get the 25% damage when only one enemy is around. Bosses are a problem for every single build. They're the hardest thing to kill, so the 25% increased damage is very important. Come over here and pick up the weakness stacks on block and the additional weakness stack. Then come down here and pick up the block efficiency, physical damage, and then finally, this has way too much text, so I'll simplify it for you. These two nodes say, if you have a heavy chest, it's going to double its all resistance. And this one says, if you have a heavy helmet, it doubles its all resistance. Remember in the itemization how I had that chest piece with 939 all resistance, and then the helmet with the massive all resistance? These two nodes double that. So that's why we take that. If you're unable to get those items, you could consider taking out these 3 nodes and coming over here and picking up the ferocity, the added block chance, and going for the 20% block efficiency. But that's a quick rundown of the passives. There are some other ways that you can build this. I tried this a million different times, but this is the one that made me immortal. It's more on the tanky side, but that's what made it really comfy to go through all the footage. Let me take you into the 187 that we cleared and show you how this all works. Alright everyone, let's watch some gameplay here. I wanted to show you that we're picking the highest level possible and we are fully powering it up, and we're going to lure the Untainteds and see if we can do this as 3-player. I want to take a quick moment to thank my super good buddies, Mr. Corey and Mr. Fisherman. He's been a lifelong friend of mine, pretty much, yeah, since I was a little boy, and also Mr. Roscoe, super good friend of mine from streaming. We're all running pretty much the same build. It's a little bit different, but I'm going to kind of lead the charge here. I actually thought I was the tankiest person, but come to find out that really all of us are not going to die here. Spoiler alert. So let's see how the hardest dungeon is. One thing that we are very, very cognizant of as we play here is we always stick together. And it's not so much because we need each other. It's because if you split up, the game will lag. So hopefully if the servers improve over time, we'll be able to try some buck wild strategies. But for right now, we have to stick together, and it's also very good for when the Untainteds come that we can get them down. So we're jumping ahead here, and I ran to this elite, and elites for the most part seem to stick on whoever hits them first, so I try to take the lead so we can see how much damage they can do to us, but really there's no danger whatsoever. So let me tell you a little bit about my rotation. I used Warpath, my number 2, to fly ahead. You might see me right there. See me use the shield and just fly ahead to the next group of monsters. When I arrive, I want to hook and apply stasis, because remember we took that passive node that makes us deal the same hit a little bit later. Then we want to spam Bleeding Edge and spam the Shout, and do the jump as well for the highest damage and to keep our rage up. I take 2 rage potions and I use them whenever my health drops, my rage drops below 750, so we can deal the double damage from the node that we took in the passives. You can see here we are all attacking the Untainted as frantically as we can, and finally he goes down. Wasn't that bad at all. With all 3 of us attacking, it was quite easy actually. And I found that in general, in multiplayer, everything was a little bit easier. Just a lot more times where you're breaking the monster's shields, you're applying more and more ailment stacks, which makes us all deal more damage. But most of these I can apply myself. As we went over, we inflict stun, we inflict curse from the belt, we inflict burn from the warpath, and we inflict poison and bleed. So we get most of it on our own, but it still helps to play with party members. So we're just systematically moving through this. This has been no problem at all. And do you see the little white marks that appear above their heads? Those are the marks of impurity. They happen automatically if you have the trial belt. Again, it's not mandatory, and honestly, if you're playing in a group, you probably only need one person to have that belt. I think all 3 of us have it. but it is a pretty significant damage increase, and it's a big quality of life over just manually applying it. So if you can find it, make sure that you wear it. It's the best belt by far. It's probably the best item in the game right now, which, by the way, Wolcen devs, if you happen to watch this video, it's cool that you have this really powerful item in the game. I hope that you don't nerf it, and I like that there's some really good uniques out there that you're constantly looking for, and I like that you can trade, because I actually have an extra belt, and so I'm going to be giving it away on my stream tomorrow, Friday the 28th. So if you guys have a chance to stop by the live stream on my Twitch channel, you may have a chance to win the belt. I'm just going to give it away. So we're blasting here. You can see those little shields spinning around me is my Juggernaut, but if you look at my health bar, it really never moves. We'll see how it goes on the boss, but we're approaching the boss room. We don't have enough progress, so we're going to backtrack and finish this off. The AoE hooks that you saw there to bring those little beetles to me, that was the I think it's called Tracker's Reach. That applies the stasis for the double damage. So we hook them all in, and then we just start throwing our bleeding edges. We use our shout and our jump when we need to. That's all it is. It's pretty high quality of life with this build. It is a lot slower than the pre-nerf bleeding edge. The pre-nerf bleeding edge, you could just fly through this content. I think our fastest clear was like 1 minute and 50 seconds. And now I would say a pretty good clear is 5 or 6 minutes. But out of all the builds that I tried Havoc Orb, I believe it's called Winter's Grasp. Sorry, I'm still learning the game, guys. I've only been playing it for a week or two, however long it's been out. I tried Gunslinger. I tried a bow build. Nothing was even close to as strong as this. That doesn't mean I tried a summoner build as well. That doesn't mean that I built it perfectly, but this was by far the most comfy for the max level content. Got a chest. I need to pick up these yellows because I'm constantly crafting stuff, trying to get better items. My number one thing on my wish list is if I could get a one-hander, either a gun or a dagger or a sword or something that would have over 600 damage. I've heard it can go all the way up to 700 damage. That would make this even easier. But one thing that was a little bit surprising about this run is we didn't have enough progress. Usually after killing the 2 Untainteds, you're ready to go for the boss, but not this run. We had to go scouring over the entire map. But after this pack, we'll be ready. So what you want to do is gather the monsters around the yellows to let the Mark of Impurity blow them up. And there they go, sayonara, they all explode, and we are ready to go to the final boss. That rock was conveniently placed there to interrupt my big charge. And I want to try to get to the boss first because I want to see my toughness against the boss. He usually seems to target whoever gets there first. So bring it on, I'm waiting for my teammates to arrive. This was actually the first attempt that we tried in 3-player, so we didn't know how the boss was going to go. Get my shout up, and alright, here we go. 444 million health. Start your stopwatches, and let's see how long it's going to take. And also, remember, at the end of an Untainted run, it's going to show us how much damage we've done, how much damage we took, and our highest crit. I already spoiled it for you earlier, but you're going to see we're going to hit for 383 million, which is pretty obnoxious. But the fact that there are ads there lets us, boom, one-shot it, and we're all laughing hysterically as the boss just evaporated. So that was a 7-minute clear. That was our first attempt. Not too bad. There's the rewards. And the more details, boom. Notice the 4. There's an extra 4 after highest hit, 383 million. You'll see me laughing about it there. We actually couldn't believe it. Well, thank you so much for watching, everybody. Bleeding Edge is back. It's still a top-tier build. You can still clear everything with it. I hope this guide helped you, and I would love to see you on the live stream tomorrow where I can give you one of these belts. Thank you.